Part 7. The Liu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yoon. Chapter 61. Chapter 61 I want a fat blue man. What is a dowry? Jong Wanan asked puzzledly. Marrying a girl, if you don't understand it now, you will understand it later, Loses who said with a smile. Jong Wanan nodded as if he understood. Gu Jinchu almost burst out laughing when he heard this. He thought that even if he gave a bunch of Ultramen as a dowry, he couldn't do this if he liked it. Aren't he afraid that the woman's mother-in-law would not like it in the future? But he didn't know that Jong Wanan liked this kind of dowry, and Loses who even gave her Ultraman. Brother, I want a blue fat man. Jong Wanan was a little excited when talking about this. Okay, I'll give it to you if you want it, but why do you like Fatty Blue? Because no matter what happens to Nobita, Fatty Lan will solve it for him and always protect Nobita, like a prince protecting a princess. The prince and princess here refer to Loses who and Jong Wanan. Loses who smiled with satisfaction after hearing this. Okay, the prince will prepare it for you, but not now. I can wait. Jong Wanan waved excitedly. Ah, young man, Gu Jinchu said disdainfully. It was getting late when the three of them finished playing the game. Gu Jinchu stretched and yawned, saying he was sleepy, and then went back to his room to sleep. Loses who and Jong Wanan looked at each other. Let's go to bed. Loses who held Jong Wanan in his arms. Jong Wanan walked to the stairs on the second floor and looked at her room. Let's not disturb Sister Avril. Let her rest in my room. Okay. Loses who pushed Jong Wanan into the room, then took her pajamas and stuffed them into her hands and said, wash up early and go to bed early. Go ahead. I want to take a bath with the prince, Jong Wanan said with a smile. Loses who thought that he was really young and didn't know the difference between men and women. Loses who knocked her on the head, bent down and said helplessly, fool, do you know that you are a girl and I am a boy? Go take a shower quickly. Then just pretend to be a girl, Jong Wanan said matter-of-factly. Loses who laughed angrily at her. How can you pretend? Stop thinking about it and go wash yourself, Loses who said, and pushed her towards the bathroom. I won't, I will go with you. Jong Wanan held Loses who's hand and acted coquettishly. If you continue to be disobedient like this, I will drive you back to your room. Loses whose voice suddenly turned cold. Jong Wanan glanced at him fearfully, let go of his hand aggrievedly and walked into the bathroom. Loses who looked at her back as she walked in and sighed helplessly. The little girl is becoming more and more clinging to him now, and she even wants him to take a bath with her, but they are both too young now. Originally, Jong Wanan came out of the shower and promised to wait for Loses who to come out, but by the time Loses who came out, she was already asleep and unconscious. Loses who sighed, walked up to her and gave her a blow in the head. Jong Wanan felt someone was touching her and waved her hand like a fly. Loses who looked at her sleeping face and said with a smile, lazy pig. Then turn off the lights and go to sleep. When she got up the next day, Avril was no longer in the room. Jong Wanan searched around but couldn't find her. When she came back, she happened to meet Gu Jinchu in the garden. Brother Jinchu, have you seen Sister Avril? Jong Wanan asked, raising her head. Gu Jinchu saw her smiling softly, bent down and touched her face. She has left. Ah! Why are you leaving? Why didn't you say anything to me? Gu Jinchu spread his hands and said, I don't know either. My aunt just told me. Jong Wanan sighed and lowered his head. Why does she feel that Sister Avril doesn't like her anymore? I don't know what I did wrong. End of this chapter. The Liu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yoon. Chapter 62. Chapter 62 Just being arrogant. Enan, let's eat, Loses who shouted from a distance at the door. Let's go, let's eat, Gu Jinchu said and took Jong Wanan's hand. The two of them walked hand in hand to Loses who. When Loses who saw it, his face darkened and he asked coldly, why are you holding her? Are you tired of living? Gu Jinchu raised the hand he was holding, then rolled his eyes and said, "How possessive are you? Are you not happy even holding hands? If you had a girlfriend, would you be happy if I held your hand?" Loses who asked. Okay, I surrender." Gu Jinchu let go of Zhangwanan's hand and raised his hand above his head to show surrender. Humph Loses who snorted coldly, took Zhangwanan and said to Gu Jinchu, "Don't touch her in the future." Okay, Gu Jinchu said helplessly, thinking that his possessiveness was really extraordinary. He has never seen this kind of situation except in front of his loving parents. Today is an eye-opener. He successfully met another couple. Gu Jinchu thought that it would be great if he had a little green plum. He would definitely be kind to her and give her everything. It's a pity that I don't have it. Just as I was thinking about it, I remembered a familiar voice outside the door, "Children, Mom is back." Mom. Loses who and Zhangwanan both turned around. Sure enough, the two people who had abandoned them for a long time were back. Zhangwanan's first reaction was to run over to hug them, but was pulled back by the sharp-eyed Loses who. "Let's go into the house and ignore them," Loses who said proudly. "I brought you a gift, are you sure you want to be so ruthless?" Lin 11 said confused. Zhangwanan wanted to break away from Loses whose hand when he heard the word gift, but he held it too tight. "No," Loses who refused cruelly and dragged Zhangwanan into the house. "I just told you to stay outside for a few more days. Anyway, there are people taking care of the company." Lu Lin looked at the ruthless back and sighed. "Am I not worried about the children?" Although Loses who acted arrogantly, they all knew that their sudden appearance was undoubtedly a big surprise for him today. After all, after being away for so long and not notifying him in advance when he came back, Loses who already missed them no matter how much he didn't rely on them. He was just pretending not to care. They all knew his behavior and saw it in their eyes. Gu Jinchu, who had seen the whole process, ran over to show his courtesy. "Auntie, uncle, I'm here to pick you up." "Hey, hello, Jinchu. Why are you here so early? Do you have an appointment today?" "No, I didn't go back last night. Avril was there, but I don't know why she left early in the morning," Gu Jinchu explained. "That's it, have you had breakfast? You came back just as I was about to eat. Let's go eat together." "Okay, let's go, Auntie brought you a gift." Lin 11 patted the suitcase mysteriously. "Thank you, Auntie," Gu Jinchu said, suppressing his excitement. When he reached the door, Lu Lin lowered his head and glanced at his injured leg, sighed again, and said, "My son would be half as good as Jinchu. My daughter used to be very good, but now she is also bewitched, and her life is miserable." Gu Jinchu helped Lu Lin and said, "Zis who also has his own good points. I believe my uncle has discovered it a long time ago." "Haha, brat, you are still smart." Gu Jinchu lowered his head in embarrassment, "I'm just telling the truth." Although Loses who usually has a bad temper and doesn't like to communicate with others, and he has recently acquired someone who is possessive, he still has many advantages, such as being smart and kind, with a cold face and a warm heart. There are many, many, many things, and everyone can see that he is just a little arrogant and does not show his kindness easily. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yoon. Chapter 63. Chapter 63 Betrothal Gift. When the three of them walked into the living room, Loses who and Zhangwanan were already eating. Lin 11 walked into the restaurant first. As soon as he entered the door, it was obvious to see the excitement in the little girl's heart, but it was because the big devil Loses who did not dare to come close. Even if he opened his mouth, Loses who would give him a fierce look. Lin 11 saw clearly that Loses who was leaning closer to Zhangwanan. "Mom has brought you a gift, can I bring it to you later?" "Okay," Zhangwanan said in a long voice, Then she leaned on Lin 11's shoulder and said, I miss my parents so much. It's better to still be my baby girl, remember to miss your mother. Traitor, loses who said angrily. Zhangwanan, brother, you don't understand. I have to express my longing for you. Don't you miss your mother too? You understand, loses who blushed and lost his appetite. He put the bowls and chopsticks aside and went upstairs. What's wrong with this kid every day? Lu Lin, who was walking towards the restaurant, said helplessly. Then he looked at Gu Jinchu and praised, it's better to be someone else's kid. Leave him alone, let's eat. Lin 11 sighed and wondered what kind of son he had given birth to with such a bad temper. After dinner, Gu Jinchu took the gifts and returned to his home. Zhang Wanan also took the gifts and returned to the room. Now only loses whose gift was left. Lin 11 weighed the gift in her hands and said, I'll take it to that brat. Humph, the brat asked my wife to deliver it in person. Thank you for your hard work, Lu Lin said diligently. Lin 11 knocked on loses whose door and walked in with a smile. Son, look what mom bought you, it goes well with an An's gift. Once he heard that it matched Zhangwanan's gift, loses who quietly pulled up the corners of his lips and then calmed down, saying coldly, thank you, Mom. You're welcome. How have you and Anan been getting along these days when Mom is away? When loses who talked about Zhangwanan again, the corners of his mouth rose a few degrees calmly, but his voice was still cold. It's pretty good, no fighting or making trouble. Of course I know what you did to Anan because of your reluctance, otherwise I wouldn't trust you two at home. Loses who didn't answer. Just when Lin 11 thought he wouldn't answer, loses who spoke. I want to marry her, and I've already thought about the bride price, loses who said calmly, lowering his head. Huh, Lin 11 suddenly felt as if his brain was short-circuited. Loses who took a deep look at Lin 11, then he sighed, closed his eyes tightly and repeated again, I want to marry her, and I have already thought about the betrothal gift. Lin 11 held her head and looked at loses who in disbelief, her brain running rapidly trying to figure out what happened while she was away from home. Although she had always hoped that loses who and Zhangwanan would be together, she knew that it would not be possible if one of the two children was unwilling. Moreover, they were still young and would face many temptations in the future, so this matter was very important to her. Speaking of it, it has always been just a daydream, just talking, I don't dare to think too far. But what she didn't expect was that loses who would ask to marry Zhangwanan when he went out. The amount of information is really huge. Son, have you thought about it? If you have thought about this marriage, my mother will agree with it with both hands and feet. Well, I feel relieved with your words. Lin 11 was afraid that he would talk nonsense now that he was young and would let others down in the future. Mainly because of her expectant heart as a mother. Then son, you must be good to Anan, and you must remember what you said in the future. Well, don't worry, princes always stay with princesses, loses who thought to himself. Then, what do you mean by dowry? Lin 11 didn't expect that loses who actually knew about dowry and had thought about it. Ultraman, my treasure, I will give her part of it when the time comes, and she said she likes fatty blue, loses who said seriously. Lin 11 looked at him in surprise and said nothing for a while. The titles of the previous chapters and chapter 60 all mention the word dowry, which should refer to betrothal gift. This was my mistake, so I will mention it here. Recently, there have been a lot of things going on at home. I am always absent-minded and not in a good mood. I hope everyone can understand that the update time may not be on time. Finally, thank you to the little cuties who support me, okay. End of this chapter. The Lu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yoon. Chapter 64. Chapter 64, the first group photo. Let's walk together for the rest of our lives. Loses who? Son, do you really understand what the betrothal gift should be? Lin 11 asked with a headache. Where can I get a betrothal gift for Ultraman and Fatty Lan? Even though it is my treasure, or no matter how much two people love each other, they can't do this. What kind of words do they give to someone when they marry him? This silly son is indeed as high in IQ and low in EQ as his father. Then what should I give? Loses, who thought these were good enough. He liked them, and so did Jongwanan. The key is to give it to Jongwanan and it will still be his after they get married. After all, what's his is hers, and what's hers is his. Of course it should be better, such as giving some jewelry, a house, a car, and RMB, etc. Don't make an feel wronged. Loses, who nodded seriously and kept it in mind. He thought that the betrothal gift was as simple as giving something that he liked and she liked, but it turned out to be so complicated. Son, if you are serious, when your Aunt Tang wakes up, we will propose marriage to her and make An the daughter-in-law of our Lu family. Aunt Tang will definitely wake up, and I will definitely let An be our wife. Okay, I didn't expect you to be so enlightened after my mother left. It's good. Loses, who smiled sheepishly. He just wanted to marry the princess and pamper her forever and not let her have too many worries. Try on the clothes Mom bought for you. They match An's very well, Lin 11 said again. Loses, who nodded and took the gift box to the cloakroom. A few minutes later, Loses, who walked out wearing a well-tailored suit. Lin 11 stepped forward to tidy up his clothes and praised him. My son looks so good in his clothes. It's almost custom made for you. Isn't it? Loses, who silenced Lin 11 with one sentence. Lin 11 coughed twice awkwardly and said, I'm going to see if An has tried it well. I'll take a photo of the two of you later. It's our first time together. First time taking a group photo together? It sounds like it's not bad, it needs to be sorted out. Loses, who thought to himself. On the other side, Jongwanan is also fully dressed. A beautiful little princess outfit doesn't look too good on her. Lin 11 looked around in a circle and exclaimed, my baby girl, you look so good in this. Jongwanan looked back and forth in front of the mirror so beautifully that she suddenly covered her mouth and snickered, thank you, Mom. Would you like to see my brother in a suit? Why don't you two look at each other? Okay, Jongwanan shouted excitedly. She thought Loses, who would be very handsome in it, as handsome as his father in a suit. Then you wait here and I'll call your brother. Loses, who was pulled out of the door by Lin 11, are you ready to see your sister wearing new clothes? Ready? Loses, who stared at the door closely and took a deep breath. Ahem, this is your future wife, Lin 11 whispered in his ear. Loses, who lowered his head and smiled, of course he knew. His little princess is about to appear in front of him in a shining way, and if there is no accident, he will definitely want her to appear in front of him in a more shining way than now, and then announce to the whole world that this is his wife. Let's walk together for the rest of our lives. The moment they opened the door, they looked at each other. They were looking at each other. Their affectionate look was not a deliberate display, but a real feeling. Jongwanan's face turned red, her eyes quickly glanced at Loses, who and she quickly lowered her head. Loses, who was amused by her behavior. Although he was also shy, he was a man. Very, very beautiful. Let's take a photo together, Loses, who sincerely invited. End of this chapter. The Lu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yoon. Chapter 65. Chapter 65 3 years. Lin Ziun, how can it be so straightforward? If you can do anything, just take pictures. You can't help but look at them and see them embarrassed. Lin 11 called Lu Lin, and together they held Polaroids and recorded this beautiful moment for the two children, looking at each other, laughing, affectionate, funny, and cute. Took a lot of photos in several styles. Lu Lin took the photos and clicked his tongue a few times, then sighed and said, it's true that we are old, and the photos taken by the two of them are more interesting than those taken by us, an old couple. Yes, look at this picture, it looks so good as a couple, Lin 11 screamed like a girl, from now on you will be my idols, handsome men and beautiful women. Am I not your idol? Lu Lin asked with a dark face and an unhappy look. Yes, yes, my husband will always be my idol, long live my husband. Lu Lin snorted coldly and said arrogantly, that's about the same. Lin 11 rolled her eyes helplessly when facing this old kid, disgusted, not only disgusted, but disgusted, mouth area. Lin 11 gave the photos to the two children standing awkwardly aside and said, look at it, pick one out and put it on your own. You must always think of each other. Lu Zizhu and Zhang Wanan glanced at each other, and then they spotted the same picture. That one was a picture of them looking at each other affectionately, and they couldn't hold anyone else in their eyes except each other. How to divide this? There is only one piece. Lin 11 was a little embarrassed. Lu Zizhu glanced at Zhang Wanan and said with a smile, it's okay. What's mine is hers, and what's hers is mine. Let's hold this together. Yo yo yo, since when have you become so glib? Your dad is going to look at you with admiration. Lu Lin smiled heartlessly. Lin 11 couldn't bear it anymore and slapped him hard, and then said sadly, but I want you to remember each other with you at all times, no matter where you go. Then let's take a photo of the same one. Lu Zizhu said. I'm afraid I won't be able to capture this feeling, Lin 11 said worriedly. Then give it a try, Zhang Wanan said in a childish voice. Then Lin 11 picked up the camera, waited for them to pose, and the photo was frozen at that moment. The photos of people who like each other still have the same feeling. It's no different from the first photo, and it's even better looking than the last photo. The two of them held the photo in their hands. Lu Zizhu put it in her chest. There were no pockets on Zhang Wanan's skirt, so she put it in her pencil case so that she could take it out and look at it every day. The moment captured in the photo is the way they will look at each other lovingly one day in the future. Time passed quickly like quicksand, and soon 3 years passed. Zhang Wanan officially became a primary school student, and Lu Zizhu became a junior high school student. After school got together that day, Lu Zizhu started to complain, it's all my fault that you weren't born earlier, maybe you could be in the same school. Zhang Wanan is a little smarter now, so she can't let him bully her, so she immediately retorts, is it my fault? Why weren't you born later? Can you blame me? Who asked my mother to give birth to me so early? Lin 11, so according to what you said, the pot belongs to me? Ha ha ha. The two of them were angry no matter what they looked at the moment, so they simply snorted and ignored each other. Mom, the school will hold a freshman orientation event in a week, and I will have a performance, Zhang Wanan said, holding Lin 11's arm. Mom understands. Me too, in a week, Lu Zizhu was a little panicked. I'm sorry, it was my fault for giving birth to you early, I'm sorry, Lin 11 said humbly. Lu Zizhu was having trouble explaining now and could only pretend to be mute. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yun. Chapter 66. Chapter 66 Happy Start of School. Since today is the first day for two people to successfully enter high school, it is worthy of celebration, so the three of them went to the supermarket together to buy ingredients to make a feast. Your father is on a business trip, so we will buy some good food today, Lin 11 said boldly. I have the order. After Zhang Wanan said this, she pushed the car and rushed out first, regardless of Lu Zizhu's anxious voice calling her from behind. Zhang Wanan seems to be a born foodie and eats more as he gets older. Lu Zizhu is really afraid that one day his family will be bankrupted by a little girl like her. But there is another advantage, which is quite beneficial to him. If Zhang Wanan eats more and gets fatter, no one will like her or there will be fewer love rivals. Then Zhang Wanan can stay by his side with peace of mind. Just thinking about it makes me happy. But if he is eaten up and goes bankrupt, it will be because his father is bankrupt. Anyway, the key to his having hands and feet is his wisdom. When the time comes, he will find a way to make money to support her, and he must feed her. From now on, feeding Jongwanan has been one of his dreams in life. The three of them went shopping from vegetarian food to meat and then to seafood. After buying these, they were not enough. They also bought snacks and various brands of drinks. Actually, only a few of them were chosen by Luzes who. He didn't know what kind of magical power these two women had. Why did he buy so many of them? Aren't he afraid that he wouldn't be able to finish them all? It was already slightly dark when I walked out of the supermarket after shopping. After returning home, Lin 11 wanted to challenge cooking again. Luzes who and Jongwanan stared in shock after hearing this. They looked at each other and ran up to grab Linksy. Mom, I just started school and I don't want to die. I still want to study hard. I love reading. Jongwanan dragged Lin 11's leg pitifully. You can only love me, Luzes who suddenly looked as vicious as a little wolf dog. You have to be jealous at the right time. How can you even be jealous of books? You have to believe that mom's skills have improved again. Mom, you said the same thing last time, Luzes who said ruthlessly. This time it's real, let me try it, just once. No, my dad is not at home and there is no one to take care of the food. We can't waste food, Luzes who said seriously. Emotionally, your dad is just a trash can in your eyes. I didn't say the food you cooked was rubbish, you admitted it yourself. Alright, 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 I can't beat you. Lin 11 gave up the idea of cooking and handed all the ingredients to the kitchen. Jongwanan and Luzes who sat in the study together in their free time and wrote homework. This time Jongwanan had to write an essay again, about the first day of school. The last writing experience in kindergarten seems to be still vivid in my mind, as if it happened yesterday. Jongwanan racked her brains and pieced together everything to write a complete manuscript. This time she didn't need to compete anymore. They had already learned Pinyin, so the teacher allowed the phonetic notation for the words they didn't know. Jongwanan didn't have much homework. After finishing writing, he lay down and watched Luzes who writing seriously. I thought to myself, he looks really good when he is serious. Luzes who noticed that she had been looking at him, raised his head and smiled at her, and said nonchalantly, I'll treat you to something delicious this weekend. Huh, Jongwanan was confused. I wish you a happy start of school, and can I treat you to something delicious, Luzes who explained. Jongwanan thought about what would be so exciting about starting school, but how could it be so hard to live with? Agree decisively. Luzes who nodded after Jongwanan agreed, and an imperceptible smile appeared at the corner of his mouth when he lowered his head. Soon after Luzes who finished his homework, the meal was ready downstairs. Jongwanan, the foodie, couldn't wait to take Luzes who's hand and ran downstairs, saying, eat it while it's hot, otherwise it won't taste good. Luzes who looked at the hand held by her little hand and couldn't help but smile, the corners of his lips curved obviously. The little girl's hands are soft and fleshy, which is a bit fascinating, and she wants to hold her hands like this forever. End of this chapter. The Lu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yoon. Chapter 67. Chapter 67 Baby. At first I thought that the food on the table couldn't be handled by a few people, but Jongwanan's food was particularly delicious. I originally thought of eating less at night, but I couldn't stop him no matter what. Lazy pig, Luzes who said helplessly. Able to sleep and eat, he is simply a lazy pig. Jongwanan didn't care about anything. After eating, he wiped his mouth and said, it's a blessing to be able to eat. What do you know? Yes, yes, isn't this what a blessing it is for you to meet me? Vomit. Jongwanan pretended to be sick. Luzes who laughed angrily at her, and he tapped her head gently, let's go for a walk in the garden. I'm not going. Jongwanan winked and acted cute and coquettishly. You're uncomfortable sleeping at night after eating so much, Hurry up, Luzes who urged. If you don't want to go, you won't go. Luzes who was so angry that her head almost exploded, and he smiled evilly. Suddenly Jongwanan felt like everything was turning upside down. She was being carried. You can't do this. Luzes who? Luzes who? Let me down. I won't go, Jongwanan's voice echoed throughout the first floor, causing the aunties who were working to come out to find out. Everyone will smile heartily after seeing the scene clearly. Lin 11 couldn't help but laugh when she saw Jongwanan struggling. She yawned and said, Mom, let's take a rest first. You guys should go to the world of 2. Jongwanan knew that she was hopeless, but she just refused to give in. She lay on Luzes whose shoulder and kept making trouble. I thought to myself, aren't you forcing me to take a walk? Ha ha ha, I'll make you angry and make you angry. Humph. Jongwanan, be calm and be good, Luzes who coaxed patiently. I won't. Why do you feel like taking a walk like a pig slaughterhouse, Luzes who said with a smile. You, who are you talking about? Who is a pig? That's too much, Jongwanan was about to explode with anger. Baby, be good, Luzes who coaxed patiently again. Jongwanan blushed when she heard his cry, but this sentence worked. She stopped making trouble and said with a blush, you are so disgusting. Then aren't you willing to listen? Huh, Jongwanan hummed proudly and lay on Luzes whose shoulder without moving. When they reached the garden, Luzes who put Jongwan down and said, we will go back after walking around for a while. Okay, I'll bear the resistance, Jongwanan reluctantly agreed. The two of them walked in silence on the cobblestone path. Jongwanan raised his head and looked at Luzes who, as if he had something to say. Just say what you want to say, Luzes who said. Jongwanan sighed, I am already so old, why doesn't my mother wake up and my father doesn't come back yet? But every time I go to see my mother, the doctor and my uncle say that she is doing well, but why don't I wake up? Luzes who didn't know what to say. Does she dislike me? Don't want to see me? Jongwanan raised her head and asked anxiously. You have to analyze it for me, you are smart. Jongwanan anxiously shook his arm in a coquettish manner. Luzes who was silent for a while. Jongwanan thought he didn't want to answer, and lowered his head in frustration. Forget it, I'm tired from walking, so I'll go back first. Wait a minute, Luzes who took her hand and held it tightly, the condition of a vegetative state is very complicated. I don't understand it. Only a doctor can explain it. And your mother doesn't dislike you. Every mother is very fond of you, love your child, she will wake up sooner or later, it's just a matter of time. Jongwanan raised the corners of her lips and smiled bitterly, then I'll believe it for the time being. I very much hope that one day there will be a message telling me that my mother is awake. End of this chapter. The Lu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yoon. Chapter 68. Chapter 68. Good brothers. I will Luzes who touched the top of her hair to comfort her. The two of them walked to the rocking chair, which Lu Lin had set up for Lin 11. Lin 11 liked all romantic things, so Lu Lin would give her everything she wanted. Anyway, it was just one word, love. Sit down for a while, Luzes who pointed to the rocking chair. Then sit down for a while, she was tired from walking anyway. The two of them were sitting on the rocking chair and rocking. Jongwanan looked back and said, I like this rocking chair so much. If you like it, I will often come and sit with you. When I get rich and have a house that belongs to us, I will buy it for you, Luzes who said proudly. Jongwanan raised her head and smiled innocently. She put her arm on his arm and said, do you mean what you say? Have I ever lied to you? Jongwanan rolled his eyes, thought for a moment and said, that's not true. That would be great. Who knows, when my mother and I were watching TV, there were a lot of bad men on it. Luzes whose face twitched visibly, and he advised, try to stay away from your mother from now on, and watch less stupid dramas. Everything on TV is fake. I just want to read and gain knowledge, Zhang Wanan said stubbornly. What kind of knowledge do you want to learn? If you want to learn more, I will teach you. You don't have to pay for it, and you don't have to become mentally retarded. After speaking, Lu Zizhu jumped off the rocking chair and ran towards the door. Zhang Wanan reacted and became furious. He jumped down and tried to dig out the soft rocks but couldn't get them out. He had no choice but to chase after him. Lu Zizhu, who do you think is mentally retarded? Don't bully me for being young. You are the only one who is retarded, and your whole family is retarded. Then the whole family, including you, are you also mentally retarded? Lu Zizhu said coquettishly. Lu, Zi, Zhou, Zhang Wanan shouted through gritted teeth, still chasing after him. You look like a vicious dog, Lu Zizhu said with a laugh. Ah! Lu Zizhu. Bastard, you will be single for the rest of your life. Zhang Wanan felt like he was going crazy at this moment. Two people were fighting and arguing downstairs, and Lin 11 had a full view upstairs. Lin 11 held her mobile phone and started a video call with Lu Lin. She turned the camera to Lu Lin to see the scene downstairs. Look at your son and daughter-in-law, they are having so much fun, I don't even dare to go downstairs to disturb them. Just feel aggrieved. It will be great if your son can have a wife in the future. We won't have to worry about it in the future. That's right, Puranan, my baby. The next day, Lu Zizhu and Zhang Wanan went to school together as usual, but they saw He Chiu when they sent Zhang Wanan to the door. Lu Zizhu stood at the door and said, "Hurry up and go in." Zhang Wanan nodded and was about to walk in. As soon as she took a step forward, she heard someone calling her. Lu Zizhu and Zhang Wanan Shen looked back at the same time, and it turned out to be He Chiu. Good morning. He Chiu went over to say hello. Originally Lu Zizhu wanted them to go in together, but He Chiu's hand was restless and he put his hand on Zhang Wanan's shoulder. Let's go in, He Chiu said. Okay. Wait a minute, Lu Zizhu called to them. What's wrong? Is there anything else? Zhang Wanan turned around and asked in confusion. Take your hand off. Lu Zizhu glanced at his hand coldly. He Chiu instantly felt a little pain in his hand and took it off awkwardly. We are brothers, don't think too much, good brothers. Yes, good brother, Zhang Wanan agreed. Lu Zizhu glanced at more and more people and glanced at them coldly. I'll talk to you when I get home in the afternoon. What did I do wrong again? Zhang Wanan looked confused. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yun. Chapter 69. Chapter 69 Entrance Test. Tisk, 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 that one from your family. Well, I'm going to see if Jiao Jiao is here. You can walk slowly, He Chiu said, shaking his head helplessly and running away. Zhang Wanan, Zhang Wanan. Zhang Wanan heard someone calling him, and turned around to see that it was his desk. Today was only the second day of school. They hadn't spoken yet, so he didn't know what he was being called to do. Zhang Wanan stopped and stood there waiting for him to run over. You must have heard me, I called you several times over there. Huh? Sorry, I didn't hear you. Zhang Wanan scratched his head in embarrassment. I don't know what's going on, but it's obviously the first time I'm communicating with someone, but the person on the other side looks very familiar, and it doesn't look like I'm talking to him for the first time. Perhaps this is what everyone calls zilejui. What's up? Zhang Wanan was a little confused when he called himself to stop but didn't say what he was doing. It's okay, I just saw you, so I stopped you and wanted to go up with you. Oh, let's go together, Zhang Wanan said awkwardly. You don't seem to know what my name is. Zhang Wanan smiled sheepishly. I'm not in good shape. I didn't remember much about everyone introducing themselves yesterday, but I remember your surname is Zhang, right? Yes, my name is Zhang Baihui, please remember it in the future. Don't worry, your name is Jiangbei, Jiangbei, why? Zhang Baihui couldn't help but smile, yes. Okay, I remember it, don't worry. There were still 2 floors left when he reached the classroom. Zhang Baihui suddenly asked, are you ready for today's entrance test? Huh, Zhang Wanan looked confused. You haven't forgotten, have you? The teacher said it in class yesterday, let us prepare, and the parent group also said it. No, 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 I haven't forgotten, Zhang Wanan said with a headache. That's good. Zhang Wanan suddenly ran away. She didn't care whether Zhang Baihui called her or not. She just ran anyway. Damn it, she was so high last night that she only did her homework and forgot to read. She was okay in the math test. She was good at Chinese. It may be over. At this moment, she thought to herself that it would be great if Luzes who was here. He knew everything and would be able to help her remember a lot of knowledge very quickly. She hurriedly ran into the classroom, as if there was some evil spirit chasing her behind. She sat down and quickly took out her book to read the content, but she couldn't read it no matter what. Soon Zhang Baihui ran up from outside. Panting, he walked up to Zhang Wanan and asked, you, why are you running so fast? What's wrong? Zhang Wanan raised his head in surprise. Damn it, he was so nervous that he left him and ran away. This time he was really embarrassed. Zhang Wanan lowered his head and gritted his teeth, explaining, yes, I'm sorry, I get nervous when I hear about the exam. I want to read more at this time. So that's it. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I'll be happy to help you answer them. Thank you. Zhang Wanan thanked him and didn't have the heart to talk to him anymore. She would have to go to class if she kept talking, and she would be useless today if she kept talking. Zhang Wan calmed down and looked through the book carefully, but Zhang Baihui didn't know what was going on. He put down his school bag and didn't look back, lying directly on her table. Just as Zhang Wanan was racking his brains on how to get him away, Su Jiaojiao walked in from the outside in a nonchalant manner. Zhang Wanan quickly ran over to pick up Su Jiaojiao. You're here. I'm waiting for you. Sit down quickly. Have you studied for the exam today? Now she and Su Jiaojiao are at the same table. Su Jiaojiao's eyes widened. After a few seconds, she suddenly felt like a deflated balloon. Forget it, I can't even read. I'll look at you then. Zhang Wanan frowned and whispered in her ear, I didn't read it either. End of this chapter. The Lu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yun. Chapter 70. Chapter 70 Test. Su Jiaojiao's eyes widened again. She looked at Zhang Wanan in despair, and Zhang Wanan also looked at her in despair. What are you two doing? Perform a still for everyone on the second day of school, He Chiu, who had just come in from outside, asked, then stuffed a bottle of water into each of them. Thank you, keep going. The 2 people suddenly grabbed the life-saving straw and asked in unison, have you taken the exam today? Look at it. The 2 of them almost screamed out in excitement, but He Chiu brought them back to their original shape with one sentence, we are too far away, don't rely on me, you 2 can fend for yourself, it's still too late to go and see it now, it's quite simple. 1 + 1, right. After hearing He Chiu's words, the 2 of them walked back to their seats in a hurry, like eggplants beaten by frost. Who can't do 1 + 1? It's really, I'm determined to be the best in the class when the results come out today, and I'm going to be the last. You didn't read a book last night, did you? Zhang Baihui asked directly after the 2 of them returned to their seats. How do you know? Su Jiaojiao asked absently as he opened the water He Chiu just bought and took a sip. Zhang Wanan kept covering her face, feeling like she couldn't see anyone anymore. Even though she didn't watch it, she still wanted to save face and suffer the consequences for saying that she had watched it. Hold head high. Jiang Wanan lay on the table and didn't know what to say. As long as you take me to play with you in the future, I will help you and I will never let you fail in the exam, Zhang Baihui said. The eyes of the two of them suddenly brightened up a lot. Su Jiaojiao suddenly said, forget it, there are so many people in our class who want to play with you, why do you want to play with us? What are your intentions? Zhang Baihui glanced at Zhang Wanan, then at Su Jiaojiao and said calmly, is it an attempt to look at you people? Su Jiaojiao nodded thoughtfully, you can play with us if you want, but the three of us have been playing together since kindergarten. Are you sure you can fit in? Let me try. Good. We are all classmates, stop talking, let's review quickly. Zhang Wanan interrupted their conversation. It's okay, he's here, let's test him. Su Jiaojiao pointed at Jiang Baihui. Zhang Baihui smiled and said, I'll let you test me. I'd better rely on myself, and you should take a look quickly, Zhang Wanan advised. She was afraid that cheating on the first test on the second day of school would leave a bad impression on the teacher, mainly because she was afraid that Lu Zizhu would find out. It would be so shameless for Lu Zizhu to find out. So Zhang Wanan decided to read carefully. Anyway, he only took the math and Chinese exams. It is only the first grade and the school has just started. The test is not too difficult. Various rankings will be made based on the test scores later, which also allows teachers to have a good idea of the students' scores. So Zhang Wanan thought it would be better to be more honest. When the exam officially started, Zhang Wanan held her pen nervously and didn't know what to do. She came to her senses only when the test paper was passed to her. Anan, save me. Su Jiaojiao on the side tugged at her clothes. Zhang Wanan nodded slightly so as not to let the teacher notice. With the teacher's order, the classroom fell silent, leaving only the sound of the test paper turning over and the swishing sound of the pen tip touching the surface of the paper. Everyone, please do it seriously and avoid cheating. This is just a small test to see everyone's level. Don't be too nervous. The teacher said a lot. The Chinese test paper was handed out first. Zhang Wanan was most worried about the Chinese language. There were a bunch of letters and pronunciations, which gave her a headache just looking at them. Anan, question 3, question 3. Su Jiaojiao played with her arm and whispered. I do not know either. Jiang Baihui, the time has come to test you. Su Jiaojiao poked him with a pen. End of this chapter.